If you compare Pokemon from Gen 1 to Pokemon from Gen 9, it's completely night and day. Base stats are higher, more min-maxed, and more Pokemon are getting signature moves and abilities. This doesn't just apply to legendaries, by the way, even the early route and common fish Pokemon are getting the same treatment. So in this video, I'm going to be taking a look at old Pokemon and theorizing how they would be different if they were released today. Like I said in my The Best Buffs to Old Pokemon video, I'll only be looking at Pokemon Gen 4 and before, since the cutoff has to be somewhere. And keep in mind that this video is mostly a joke, and these are not meant to be realistic reworks, but rather to poke fun at how far modern power creep has come. But honestly, with things like Urshifu, Fluttermane, Miraidon, and Calyrex being in the game, these quote-unquote joke reworks aren't even that unrealistic. First, we have Mewtwo. In lore, Mewtwo is meant to be one of the strongest Pokemon ever, and this was true for a few generations, but as time passed, it fell off more and more and is now completely outclassed by a rabbit riding a horse. This is mostly due to the fact that it was the first restricted legendary Pokemon ever, and it was strong for its time, but has not been able to keep up with the times and has also not been adjusted enough to match those times. If it were released today though, I imagine quite a few things would be different. Its stats would be more optimized since it doesn't need as high of attack, so it would probably be something like this. It would absolutely not get pressure and would instead get Neuroforce, an ability that increases the damage of super effective attacks by 25%, which it would be able to make use of with the wide variety of coverage moves it actually gets, like Dark Pulse, Thunderbolt, Aura Sphere, Flamethrower, Energy Ball, Ice Beam, and Power Gem. It would probably get an alternate form too, maybe its armored form from the anime that it enters into by holding a certain item, and in this form, it's a Psychic Steel type, has even higher stats, and has Psychic Engine, an ability that sets Psychic Terrain upon entry and increases its special attack by 33% on Psychic Terrain. Its signature move Psystrike would not be a measly 100 base power in single target, but rather 120 base power and deal spread damage. It would also probably get access to Moonblast and Dazzling Gleam, and would get another signature move, Psykick, a special Psychic Sucker Punch. If Mewtwo had these attributes, it might just have a niche in the restricted formats of Reg G, I, and J. Next, we have Spiritomb. Spiritomb has always been quite a mysterious Pokemon due to how difficult it is to encounter in most games, the fact that it had no weaknesses at the time of release, and the fact that it's used by Cynthia. Something that kind of ruined its uniqueness though is that it's now weak to Fairy, a new type added in Gen 6. So if it were released today, it would probably have some kind of signature ability that makes it immune to Fairy so that it has no weaknesses. You can help me come up with a more creative name, but let's just go with Fairy Absorb for now, and make it the Fairy equivalent to Water Absorb. For its stats, it would probably have lower speed and lower attack and special attack to help it lean more into being a defensive Pokemon, with those stat points being redirected towards HP. It would also have 20 more HP on top of that because why not? For moves, it would probably get Knock Off, Cosmic Power, Recover, Perish Song, Teleport, and Parting Shot, and it would likely have a signature move, Spirit Swarm, a 100% accurate Ghost-type binding move with 40 base power, just in case Spiritomb's stalling capabilities weren't good enough since it already gets Will-O-Wisp, Toxic, Confuse Ray, Spite, Disable, and Pain Split. This Spiritomb could be good on stall teams or even Perish Trap teams. Next, we have Cacturne. Cacturne is one of the many victims of the Hoenn Special, as I like to call it, one of the worst ways that base stats can be distributed. These would absolutely not fly today, and they would probably be rearranged more like this, and it would have 20 more speed. It would probably get the signature ability Prickly, which works like Toxic Debris but for spikes, in that it sets a layer of spikes on the opposing side of the battlefield every time it's hit with a physical move, and would also have the option of Sand Rush instead of Sand Veil. For its moves, it would probably get Spiky Shield, Snap Trap, Wood Hammer, and would be given a signature move. Cacturne actually was given a signature move at the time of release, Needle Arm, but it's only 60 base power with a 30% flinch chance. If Cacturne was released today, that move would probably be 90 base power with a 50% flinch chance and would set a layer of spikes on the battlefield after every use. Cacturne already gets Sword Stance and Sucker Punch, but with it now also getting Sand Rush to double its speed, and Needle Arm being higher in base power and having a higher flinch chance, it would have multiple different roles that would all be quite good. Next, we have Castform. Castform was introduced in Generation 3, and while Weather was introduced in Gen 2, Hail and Overworld Weather wasn't until Gen 3, and Castform seems to be the Pokemon really meant to showcase Weather's effects along with Groudon and Kyogre. All Castform does in Weather though is change its type and change the type of its now not signature move, Weather Ball. That's it. It also doesn't even have a Sand form, which would be the first change it would have if it were released today. Credit to PokemonPets.com where I found this Castform Sand artwork, by the way. The main issue with Castform in its current state is that its terrible stats remain completely unchanged between forms, so let's start there. Since Weather Ball is a special attacking move, give it higher special attack, lower attack, and higher stats all around so that it's actually usable. Forecast would not only change Castform's type, but it would also grant a passive 50% boost to Rock and Ice moves when in those respective forms, since Hail and Sand don't already have the 50% power boost that Rain and Sun have. Weather Ball would also probably have a unique effect in that it extends the duration of the current weather by an additional 3 turns every time it's used by Castform, so that it doesn't have to worry as much about getting set back to its base form if the weather runs out. If the weather is overridden, that's fine, since Castform will just change into the form for that other weather. Next, we have Sceptile. Sceptile is a pretty big victim of being released too early, mainly because it was before the physical special split. Its signature move at the time, Leaf Blade, was a special move in Gen 3 since Grass was special and was changed to be physical in Gen 4, but its stats weren't changed to account for that. In a vacuum, its stats actually aren't bad, but in context, they don't really fit Sceptile since even outside of Leaf Blade, it has a much better physical move pool than special, something that I covered in my Pokemon that learned the wrong moves video. So if it were released today, it would be a much more min-maxed physical attacker that could actually take advantage of Leaf Blade. It would probably be Grass Dragon, which is better in some ways, worse in some ways, but it would give it stab on the physical dragon moves it gets. For its hidden ability, Sharpness is the obvious one, with Leaf Blade getting boosted, and Sceptile also getting Night Slash, Fury Cutter, X-Scissor, Aerial Ace, Solar Blade, and Slash. If we were to stay on the Unburden route though, I imagine that Sceptile would have an easy way to get rid of its item, and it would probably be released in the same generation as the Sharpening Stone, a held item that increases the holder's attack by 1 stage after using a slicing move, just like the Throat Spray with special attack for sound-based moves. This would allow for Sceptile to get a +1 attack boost and doubled speed after using a slicing move. This Sceptile just might be able to make its way into RU. Next, we have Hitmonchan. This is another case where the Pokemon was a victim of being released too early. Its stats are quite bad, with a base stat total of only 455, so it would definitely be more like 525 if it was released today. The main thing that just screams early generation though, is its signature ability at the time, Iron Fist, which grants a measly 20% boost to punching moves. 20% is way too little of a boost for a modern ability, and the reason that it was made this way at the time was because it was a counterpart to Reckless, the former signature ability of Hitmonlee, and 20% is quite reasonable for Reckless since Recoil and Crash moves have much higher base power than punching moves. If these two were released today though, Iron Fist would grant a 50% boost to punching moves, and Hitmonlee would have been given Iron Toe, which boosts the power of kicking moves by 50%. About a year ago, I made a video theorizing new move categories, and kicking moves was one of them, so here's the list of kicking moves I made that would be boosted by Iron Toe. While we're at it, let's also fix Hitmonlee's stats, and we might as well do Hitmontop too. Hitmonchan learns most punching moves already, so I think its current move pool is fine, especially since it gets good utility moves like Fake Out, Feint, Helping Hand, and Encore. Next, we have Ledian. Ledian is the early route bug Pokemon of Gen 2, and it is absolutely awful. It mainly just has terrible stats, but if it were released today, it would probably have 20 lower special defense and 80 higher attack. People often joke that it has Iron Fist despite not learning very many punching moves, so it would definitely learn some more of those. It would also be bug fighting type instead of bug flying, which would give it stab on the punching moves Drain Punch, Focus Punch, and Mach Punch. There does not exist a bug type punching move, so Ledian would probably be given one of those as well as a signature move, Ledian Punch. A 90 base power, 100% accurate, physical attacking bug type punching move that ignores opposing stat changes. Remember that in this hypothetical, Iron Fist grants a 50% boost to punching moves, so it actually has a useful ability now. With good attack and speed, a more powerful Iron Fist, a different typing, and access to some more punching moves, this Ledian could actually be decent. Lastly, we have Mismagius. Mismagius was introduced in Gen 4 as an evolution to Misdreavus. It's a pure ghost type with mediocre stats and a decent move pool, but really nothing that stands out. To make it stand out, it would probably be given a secondary typing, Fairy, which would be good to hit the dark types for super effective that resist Ghost, while also hitting normal for neutral. As a now Ghost Fairy type, it would obviously be given Moonblast, and the combination of Moonblast with Shadow Ball would make for great stab, since Fairy and Ghost are great offensively. It would probably have higher stats as well, maybe more like this, which would make it faster and hit harder. Levitate is good, but it would probably have a more offensive ability, let's call it Ghostly Presence, which increases its highest stat by 30%, 50% if it's speed when exposed to a certain item or when there's harsh sunlight. With access to coverage moves like Power Gem, Mystical Fire, Thunderbolt, Energy Ball, and Psyshock, as well as status moves like Taunt, Perish Song, Calm Mind, and Trick Room, Mismagius would be really good if it were released today, but Game Freak would probably never do something like this for real. And those are some old Pokemon and how I theorize they would be different if they were released today. Again, this video is mostly a joke, but I do think that some of the things I said could actually be realistic. There were a lot of Pokemon I left out that I was thinking of including, and here are just some of them, so let me know how you theorize these Pokemon would be different if they were released today, as well as any other early gen Pokemon. Anyway, if you want to support me and my channel, just leave a nice comment since I do read all comments. You can also become a member for 99 US cents a month to get a badge next to your name and early video access like all of these lovely people. If you want bonus content, check out my second channel, Extra Bell, where I post videos I've scrapped for the main channel, as well as more casual, unscripted videos. Likes are also one of the ways that YouTube determines if a video should be passed around to more people, so if you feel that this video deserves to be, I would appreciate it. Thanks for watching.